Hare, Hare Krishna everyone. Welcome to our class on the Nectar of Devotion, which is a book, a summary study written by ISKCON's founder Acharya, His Divine Grace, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada. So we have embarked upon this journey of studying this book, Nectar of Devotion, till chapter number 19. Today we will complete our discussion on chapter number 10, which we started last Sunday. And we will also finish our discussion on chapter number 11 today. And total in overall discussion, this is our 13th class on this topic. I would like to now invite His Grace Jivan Radha Govind Prabhu from Bangalore to kindly recite Mangalacharan prayers for the benefit of the devotees. Prabhuji, are you there?
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji. Welcome.
Okay. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Om Ajnanatimirandasya Jnana Janashalakaya Sakshur Urmilatamyena Tasmai Sri Gurave Namaha Sri Chaitanya Manobhishtam Sapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamahyam Dadati Swapadantikam Vandeham Sri Guru Sri Yuta Padakamalam Sri Guru Vaishnavamsya Sri Rupam Sakrajadam Sahagana Raghunathanvitam Tam Sajivam Sadvaitam Sabhadutam Parijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Sri Radha Krishna Padam Sahagana Jalita Sri Vishakathanvitam Sya He Krishna Karana Sindho Dina Bandho Jagatpate Gopisha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namostute Tapta Kanchana Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Vrishabhanu Sute Devi Pranamami Hari Priye Vancha Kalpa Tarubhyacha Kripa Sindhubhya Vacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishavebhyo Namo Namaha Jai Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Sri Advaita Gadadhara Shivasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Thank you, Prabhuji. Hare Krishna.
Thank you, Prabhuji. Very sweetly chanted, very melodious, very nice.
Thank you, Prabhuji.
Okay, now we will go to the next part of our program. Would like to invite Dr. Ishwar Prabhuji from Rohtak, who will help us revise previous class, that is class number 12. Prabhuji, over to you.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji. Hare Krishna, all dear devotees. I am happy and thankful about this opportunity given again, this time for revising and summarizing what was taught in the last class, number 12, on Nectar of Devotion. For quite some time now, maybe 2 weeks, we are being taught about the limbs of bhakti. And in the recap, my task is to revise things from beginning from limb number 35 up to 43. And here is how I start. Now, limb number 35 is about Vigyapti or submission or issuing submissive appeals, which are very significant in the progress of ascendancy in spirituality. A statement in Skanda Purana confirms that sober devotees who submissively appeal and submit themselves unto the lotus feet of the Lord are enabled to open the door of liberation, and thus they get released. Such submissions, they fall into 3 categories, depending upon their intensity and quality of submission. Number 1 is samprarthnatmika, which means offering prayers feelingly, where a devotee prays that his mind be attached to the Lord in a natural and spontaneous way much like a young boy or a girl getting attached to each other. And this natural attraction for the Lord is the perfectional stage of self-realization. The second submission is Danya Bodhika, which means humble admission of incompetence, someone's incompetence by the devotee, where the devotee very humbly and meekly says, there is no one as sinful as me, no one is a greater offender than me. I am ashamed of my Lord when I ask you to remove these shortcomings. When I am, what can I say, O Purushottama? And the Lord willingly, certainly excuses one who sincerely begs for such forgiveness. At this point, Srila Prabhupada cautions and affirms that no one should take undue advantage of Lord's merciful nature by asking just for the sake of forgiveness or do it repeatedly and shamelessly. This is the caution we all must take as devotees. Now, the third submission, which seems to me a little more intense and more humble, is Lal Samai, which means expression of longing at Bhav stage, wherein a devotee desires some perfectional stage in spiritual life, asserting his constitutional position with the Lord and requests the Lord that he be reinstated in that position depending upon his merit and taste in ascendancy. He may be he may like to be a friend, a servant, parent, or a conjugal lover of Krishna. This is confirmed by reference from Narada Pancharatra, where Narada says, O Jagatpati, when will you, accompanied by Lakshmi Devi ji, with a deep voice say to me, who is eagerly holding a chamra, a fan-like thing, and order me to fan like this, fan like that. That means the personal involvement of both the devotee as well as the Lord. Narada here desires to be an associate or a menial personal servant to the Lord. This is this is required to reach the stage of perfect liberation, which is also known as Swarup Siddhi. And then the prayers filled with longing for bhava. There is another example of this, and which says, when will I dance on the bank of Yamuna, singing your name with tears in my eyes, O Lord. This also represents Lal Samai, and the bottom line of this submission is that we all as devotees must know the art of how to cry for the Lord, how to intimately and how much we want to be attached to the Lord, that his remembrance brings tears to our eyes, and which is, I think, a crescendo of involvement between the devotee and the Lord. And if we really wish to enter the kingdom of Lord. Now, the next limb is limb number 36, which talks about Sattva Patha. This is about reciting notable compositions of praise for the Lord. There are many authorized prayers in our scriptures which are called sattvas, and besides these sattvas, we also have some prayers written by they are self-composed prayers by showing personal emotions by the devotees. But both are important. Such devotees who are very deft at giving sattvas and stotras, that means they are really very respected and worshipped even by siddhas and devotees, much to the consternation of less intelligent worshippers who worship devatas for material gains. Such devotees who praise Madhusudan with strotas and sattvas in front of his deity form, they attain Vaikuntha for sure. Next is limb number 37, which is about Naivedya Asvada, that means eating prasad There is a reference in Padma Puran which says, one who eats prasad, food remnants of the deity, and takes charanamrit, water offered to Lord's lotus feet and mixed with tulsi, achieves the results equivalent to thousands of sacrifices. In limb number 38, which is Padya Aswada, that means drinking Charanamrita, this is the water that has bathed the deity before dressing in the morning. This water glides through the Lord's lotus feet. It's mixed with yogurt, perfumes, and flowers, made very tasty, and there is a tremendous spiritual value of this liquid. Yeah, it is such a big thing that even the Sukritnas or the neophytes, and I would also like to say that even atheists, if they take it, maybe become eligible for entering the kingdom of God once they do it sincerely. Limb number 39 is about Dhupa Malyadi Sorvavam, which means smelling incense and flowers offered to the deity. Scriptures, Hari Bhakti, Sudodaya, Tantra Shastra, and Agastya Samhita say that one should not go to see a saint or the deity in the temple without any offering, which may be very humble, like a flower, fruit, water, incense, some morsel of rice, etc., or anything which is easily available and possible for a devotee. By smelling the incense, fragrance of flowers offered to the deity, one is cured of the poisonous effects of snake of karma and the bondage created by piles of sinful activities done through years. Prabhuji gave us the examples of 4 Kumaras who were Supritnas, and they were turned into devotees by doing all this. Limb number 40 talks about Sri Sri Murte Sparshanam, touching the deity. A statement from Vishnu Dharmatra says, a pure, faithful, and qualified devotee, when touches the deity of Vishnu, becomes free from bondage of sins and attains all desires. However, anyone and everyone is not allowed to enter the sanctum sanctorum due to unclean habits. Only purified and initiated devotees can touch the deity. Limb number 41 is about Sri Murte Darshanam, that means seeing the deity. A verse from Vara Purana clarifies the power of Darshanam, which says, O earth, those who see Lord Govinda's deity in Vrindavan do not go to the city of Yama, but achieve bhakti, the goal of all piety. Next is limb number 42, which is about Artrika Utsava Darshanam, means seeing Arti and festivals related to the Lord. The scriptures like Skanda Puran, Bhashya Puran, and Agni Puran describe the going of seeing such activities, gains of seeing such activities. Arthrik, the Lord face lit by light of Arthik lamp, burns all past sinful reactions of millions of years, including the sin of killing a Brahmana. Utsava, in case of Utsava, it says even a Chandal who sees the Lord on a chariot during festivals, maybe even for his curiosity, also becomes an associate of the Lord. So such is the potency of these things. And about worship, he says, anyone who sees the worship of the deity in a temple with joy, devotion, and faith attains eternal service to the Lord. This brings us to the end of chapter 9, and the next limb number 43 is part of chapter 10, and that is about Shravanam, that is hearing about the Lord. It only means listening to the name, pastimes, and qualities of the Supreme Lord. It is the beginning of Krishna consciousness and also the means to progress in bhakti yoga. When one links one's ears to give oral reception to the transcendental vibration, one can quickly be purified of the contamination in one's heart. Scriptures like Garuda Puran, Srimad Bhagavatam speak very eloquently about the potencies of Shravanam. The bite of the snake of samsara can be counteracted by the medicine of Vaishnava mantra, after hearing which one can be liberated. In the assembly of great devotees, excellent nectarian rivers of pastimes of the Lord flow from the mouth of saintly devotees. Those who hear the nectar with eager, thirsty ears will not be touched by material hunger, thirst, fear, lamentation, and illusions. So, therefore, one must hear, dear devotees, the narrations of the Lord's qualities, pastimes, and qualities daily, constantly, and reverentially, of course, certainly to attend unalloyed bhakti unto Lord Sri Krishna. Thank you very much for your patient hearing. Hare Krishna.
Yeah, thank you very much, Ishwar Prabhuji. That was very nicely captured. I can I can really see the dedication and the devotion that you have prepared the summary and even presented the summary. So thanks a lot for that. Okay,
Thank you, Prabhuji.
we will now move to the today's session, our fresh class for today. And like we do every time, we'll do a very quick recap of the previous chapters, what we have done in Bhakti Samrat Sindhu or Nectar of Devotion. This slide is about 4 divisions of the book: East, West, North, South. You have probably now yourself acquainted with this concept. Then in each division of the book, there are different subjects. In this course, we are only covering the Eastern division, which is chapter 19 till chapter 19 in Bhakti in Nectar of Devotion. And so right now we are covering the chapter number 2 of the Eastern division. And this particular slide gives you an outline of how this chapter number 2 is divided. So the first part is what are various types of Uttam Bhakti, and there are only 5 verses regarding that. Then the Vaidhi Sadhana Bhakti description goes from 6th verse to 269. So we are still studying this, and we are right now on this 5th bullet, 64 limbs of Vaidhi Bhakti. This will go up to till verse number 237. So we probably today will cover up till verse number 205. So another, I think, 1 or 2 classes we will dedicate on this bullet. And until 309 will this chapter will continue. This will also cover Raganuga Bhakti. And this is the list of chapters in Nectar of Devotion. And we have more or less covered chapter number 10 in the previous class. Not more or less. I think we started covering it. Prabhuji just now mentioned about limb number 43 about Shravanam. We will continue further after Shravanam today. Although we covered that little bit last time also, but we'll do a little overlap. And then we will finish our chapter number 11 today. So we have part of chapter number 10 and the whole chapter 11 to be covered in today's class. And this is my favorite slide, which I have been speaking about always in my beginning of my classes. As I've been mentioning, right now we focus mainly on the definition of Uttam Bhakti, Sadhan Bhakti, Vaidhi Sadhan Bhakti, and understanding of specifically the 64 limbs of Vaidhi Bhakti, how to practically perform Bhakti according to scriptures, according to Vidhi and Vidhan. So Uttam Bhakti means favorably serving by some activity to Lord Krishna. Sadhan Bhakti means we do it using our mind, our senses. That is the Sadhan Bhakti definition. Vaidhi Bhakti means that we use our mind and senses using some Vidhi and Vidhan, using some rules and regulation. That is the definition of Vaidhi Bhakti. And then we come to how to practically execute Vaidhi Sadhan Bhakti, and that's where we are discussing about 64 limbs of Vaidhi Bhakti. So in this class, we continue with our discussion on the 64 limbs. So last time also I discussed about this limb number 64, but that was in the end of the class, and maybe the attention span might not be of the topmost quality from your side. So we will once again look at it, uh, because it is very important concept as far as the limbs of bhakti is concerned. And here the limb number 44 is tat kripekshanam. Hmm? Kripa and ikshanam, expecting Lord's mercy. Tat means Lord, kripekshanam means expecting kripa of the Lord. So expecting Lord's mercy. So this is a very important limb, and very uh, educative also. Educative in the sense that this limb, or the verse that has been quoted to explain this limb, is something which has been emphasized by our acharyas a number of times. Specifically, when it was asked about from Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati, that how a one devotee should lead his life, then he quoted this verse. Hmm. So this is very important verse to understand, and that's why I'm repeating it once again in this class, although we covered it in the previous class also. This is the verse goes like this. This is from Bhagavatam 10th canto. तत्तेऽनुकम्पां सुसमीक्षमाणो भुञ्जान एवात्मकृतं विपाकं हृद्वाग्वपुर्भिर्विदधान् नमस्ते जीवेत यो मुक्तिपदे सदाय भाक्. We will go line by line. Tattenukampam susamikshamaano. O Lord, one who earnestly waits for your causeless mercy. So this is where it comes when we are talking about expecting Lord's mercy. So that theme comes in the first line. One who earnestly waits, eagerly waits for your causeless mercy. Bhunjan evatma kritam vipakam. While patiently suffering the reactions of his past misdeeds. Vipakam. Pak, the word pak comes from cooking. So kritam. Kritam means our deeds from the past. So when our deeds from the past become cooked, become ready for us to give us the reaction of those deeds. Those deeds become ready, cooked, sufficiently cooked to give us the reactions. Hmm. So here it is saying that while patiently suffering the reactions of his past misdeeds. So how this devotee is earnestly waiting for Lord's mercy? He's living in this life, he's suffering the reactions of his past misdeeds, and while he's suffering his past misdeeds, what he's doing, he's actually executing the limbs of bhakti. Hrid vag vapurbhir vidhan namaste. Namaste means offering pranams, offering respectful obeisances. Hrid vag vapurbhir. Hrid means from his heart, vag means from his words, and vapur is meaning body. So offering respectful obeisances not only from his body but by his words also, and heart also, emotionally also he is offering those respects. And while he's doing two things, he's suffering from the reactions. Uh, Rather, you can say three things. He's waiting earnestly for the mercy. He's suffering those reactions, and he's offering obeisances. Then what happens to this person? He's surely eligible for you, for that is his rightful claim. So eligible for you means he's eligible to meet you, or he's eligible to reach you. Jivet yo mukti pade. Mukti pade means he's get liberated. Sadai bhak. Now dai bhak means, it is a Sanskrit word which is used for those individuals who live their life and sincerely enough, and once they live their life uh, sincerely enough, and their parents or their uh, uh, parents actually pass away, then they become rightful eligible candidate for acquiring that inheritance. Naturally they will be given that inheritance. They don't have to do anything special. Simply they live life properly, sincerely, serving their parents, etc. And that's when their parents pass away, the inheritance by virtue of law, by virtue of the rules of law, is given to the such a person. So that is the comparison given here. Jivet yo mukti pade sadaya bhag. So Srila Prabhupada, in explanation to this specific limb, have given this guideline, have expressed that this verse should be treated like a guide, like a guidebook for a devotee. A devotee should not expect immediate relief from karma phala of the past. Sometimes devotees who come to bhakti, who come to spiritual life, hearing that once you come to spiritual life, your past reactions will be forgiven, you will lead a very happy life, etc., etc. And when the devotee start practicing that life, still he might be getting some reactions from his past life. And at that time, the devotee might become discouraged. Oh, why I'm practicing bhakti, I'm practicing spiritual life so much with so much sincerity, but still I'm getting karma phala. So here Srila Prabhupada is explaining to us that a devotee should not expect immediate relief from karma phala of the past. Then how should a devotee behave? How should a devotee live in this world? What should be the mindset of the devotee? So he should perform the bhakti, limbs of bhakti, with sincerity. Hmm. Like it is mentioned in the previous, in this verse, that offering you respectful obeisances with heart, words, and body. Hmm. This is an example of offering the limbs of bhakti to the Lord with respect, with sincerity. Then once he do that activity of performing bhakti with sincerity, he will experience bliss of bhakti. He will start to experience that bliss of bhakti, which happens by performing the limbs of bhakti. There will be some bliss, although he will continue to suffer past misdeeds, and this bliss will give that devotee a higher taste, a superior taste. This bliss will give him a superior taste, and because of this superior taste, higher taste, the devotee will get the strength to tolerate the sufferings due to his past misdeeds. So because the devotee still has this body, a body, having a body means that you have to suffer, or you have to bear the consequences of your past misdeeds. If your deeds were good, you will get good reactions. If your deeds were bad, you will get bad reaction. So with that higher taste, the devotee gets the strength to tolerate the sufferings due to past misdeeds. And while he does so, while he continue to do these two activities, experience the bliss which comes by the practice of bhakti, while still suffering because of past misdeeds, he should keep remembering Krishna and patiently expect his mercy. Patiently expect his mercy. Of mercy for what? For more higher bliss, for more higher taste. He should expect that mercy which comes only because of the mercy of the Lord. Like that, a devotee should live in this world. And what will be the end result if he continue to do this and don't falter and don't become a defaulter, or take move out from the path of bhakti? The end result will be he enters the kingdom of God. Like this: surely eligible for you, jivet yo mukti pade, is surely eligible for you. And the example given is like a son gets his father's inheritance naturally. And naturally, by rule of law, the son gets his father inheritance. So simply continue to do this, and this verse from Srimad Bhagavatam is assuring us that we will be getting the mukti pade, the kingdom of God, simply by doing whatever is expected from us. So that was a very important limb and a very important message also for us practicing sadhakas. Now moving to limb number 45, which is smriti. Smriti means remembrance. So here, first of all, Srila Rup Goswami gives the definition of what do you mean by smriti, what do you mean by remembrance. And it is important to understand this definition because the next limb is called dhyanam. So there is a difference between smriti and dhyanam, which may appear similar to some of the devotees, but they are having some difference. So first of all, the definition is given: somehow or the other, connecting the mind to Lord Krishna is called smriti. This is called remembrance. That is the definition given. Somehow or the other, you are sitting in a room and there is a picture of the Lord next to you. When you look at the picture, you simply remember the Lord. Or you see some arti procession coming, you remember the Lord. Or any article associated with the Lord, reminds you of the Lord, it is somehow or the other connecting the mind to the Lord. That is known as Smriti. Here the references are given from Vishnu Puran and Padma Puran. The references are like this. This is from Vishnu Puran, the first one. I surrender to the unborn, eternal person Hari, by remembrance of whom one takes possession of all auspiciousness. So this is once again glorifying the remembrance of the Lord from Vishnu Puran. Second one is from Padma Puran. I offer my respects to the omniscient Lord. Remembrance of his name, while living or dying, immediately destroys heaps of sins committed by man. This is from Padma Puran. Once again, uh, remembrance of his name, remembrance. So this is where the focus of this verse that has been quoted here. Remembrance of his name, while living or dying, immediately destroys heaps of sins committed by men. Moving to the next limb, which is Dhyanam. Again, Srila Rupa Goswami starts with the definition of word Dhyanam. Now pay attention, what is the difference between Dhyanam and Smriti? Meditation means to contemplate with absorption. So the previous definition of Smriti was somehow or the other contemplate on somehow or the other connecting the mind to Krishna. That is called Smriti. Somehow or the other connecting the mind. But Dhyanam is contemplate with absorption. Contemplate with absorption. Now you are fixed. You are not simply connecting the mind with the Lord. You are now actually more deeply connecting yourself, and that is true with absorption on the Lord's form, qualities, pastimes, service, etc. Now a little more elaboration on meditation means here in the footnote. Meditation is absorption, skillful contemplation. Skillful contemplation. Now an example of skillful contemplation is, for like we issue quizzes after we do our classes. We do some lecturing, we do some shravanam and kirtanam. After that we issue quizzes. Now when the devotees are writing quizzes, what do? They read the question, they read the alternatives given to select what is the correct alternative. At that moment of time, when they are choosing the right answer, they enter into contemplation. Which one is right? Is option number 1 right? Option number 2 right? Option number 3? No, I think 2 is right. No, I think 3 is right. Probably 3 is right because of this reason, because of that reason. That is actually contemplation with absorption. Now you are fixed on one particular aspect of devotional life, where you are skillfully trying to contemplate upon the Lord, upon some characteristic of the Lord, upon some subject matter associated with Lord. So that is called skillful contemplation. So here Smriti, which is given in verse number 175 in the previous limb, is thinking of the Lord somehow or the other. Somehow or the other. You just hearing some bhajan of the Lord. You are somehow remembering the Lord. But Dhyanam is deeper. It is much more serious and much more with much more absorption. Now Dhyanam could be of 4 types. It could be on Roop, the form of the Lord. It could be on Gun, that means quality of the Lord. It could be on Krida, which means some activity or some Leela of the Lord. And Seva. Seva means service, some activity that you have been doing associated with devotional service. That's Seva. So it could be any of those. And these 179, 180, 181, 182 means that there have been a reference given regarding Rupa Dhyanam, Guna Dhyanam, Krida Dhyanam, and Seva Dhyanam. So each one of those types of Dhyanam, there have been a reference has been given by Srila Rupa Goswami. Now we will talk about in this slide about Rupa Dhyanam and Guna Dhyanam. So these references are from Narasimha Puran and Vishnu Dharma. The first one is from Narasimha Puran and the second one is from Vishnu Dharma. So Rupa Dhyanam, the reference given is meditation on the 2 feet for the Lord is the means to be free from the dualities of this world. Even a sinner who meditates casually attains the highest benefit. Now meditation on 2 feet, on the lotus feet of the Lord. So when you see the lotus feet of the Lord in the temple, and you meditate upon it, you just simply go into some kind of a dhyan, some kind of a meditation. You are simply awestruck, you are simply stuck looking at the lotus feet of the Lord. Your eyes are not moving away from the lotus feet of the Lord. Hmm? And you are simply looking at the lotus feet of the Lord, admiring the beauty of the lotus feet, admiring the tulsi leaf that is kept on the lotus feet. You are simply feeling blissful just by watching the lotus feet of the Lord. So that is called Rupa Dhyanam. Here the example is given on the of the lotus feet, but it could be any limb of the Lord, lotus face of the Lord, lotus navel of the Lord, and the like that, any form of the Lord, like you are just stuck, you are just lost. You are simply looking at it with lot of awe and reverence, with lot of love and devotion. That, and what is the benefit? Even a sinner who meditates casually out of curiosity, simply looking at the out of curiosity, even if somebody who is a very sinner, a sinful person, attains the highest benefit. So that is Rupa Dhyan. Similarly, Guna Dhyanam, those who constantly meditate on the qualities of the Lord with devotion, having destroyed all contaminations, enter the abode of the Lord. Guna Dhyanam. So, what is the benefit? You enter the abode of the Lord. You go to the Loka, Goloka or Vaikuntha Loka, etc. Guna Dhyan. Now, what is Guna Dhyan? Remembering how merciful is my dear Lord, how sweet my dear Lord is. And simply you are thinking about it and you are lost in that thought for a while. Like that, uh, who constantly meditate on the qualities of the Lord with devotion, having destroyed all contaminations, enter the abode of the Lord. Then Krida Dhyanam means the pastime of the Lord. So you are kind of meditating upon how the Lord lifted Govardhan Hill. He is such a small boy, uh, and then he lifted Govardhan Hill with so much ease, such a heavy object, and then he lifted the not only lifted the hill but playfully kept on his pinky finger for maybe 7 days. Like that, you are thinking, you are deeply absorbed in that kind of a activity, remembering that activity, focusing on that activity. So here, he who meditates on the sweetest, most astonishing, charming pastimes of the Lord attains liberation. So this reference is given from a Padma Puran. And Seva Dhyanam. Seva Dhyanam, the reference comes from some Puran. Rup Goswami has not given the name of the Puran, but Seva Dhyanam means constantly meditating upon the service that one does for the Lord. Constantly serving the Lord with items produced in the mind. Some devotees have directly attained the Lord, who is not approachable for others by words or mind. Now, Seva Dhyanam means we are doing service to the Lord in the mind. So, one service we do physically, we go to the temple, we clean the temple, or we offer the deities some service. We do some book distribution. We do many kind of activities we do for the service of the Lord. But those are services, I'm giving you example, we do physically. But even if we are not doing physically those services, we are doing those services only in the mind. In the mind, we have offered some bhoga to the Lord. In the mind, we have offered some flower to the Lord. In the mind, we have done some service to the Lord. Like that, even only in the mind we are doing that service, not doing physically, not purchasing that flower by giving some cash and then offering it to the Lord in the temple, but simply by doing that service in the mind, not paying any money for that, only doing in the mind. Eh, this reference from this Puran says some devotees have directly attained the Lord, who is not approachable for others by words or mind. So the Lord who is not approachable by words or mind, some people or some devotees, even by serving the Lord in their mind, they have attained the Lord. In this regard, Srila Rup Goswami quotes a nice story. I think that story has not been quoted by Srila Rup Goswami. Let me just confirm that. So this is item number 46, and the verse number is verse number is should be around 183. So just give me 1 minute. So this has been mentioned here. Okay, this has been mentioned by Srila Jeev Goswami, not by Rup Goswami. So Srila Jeev Goswami has written the commentary in which he mentions one story of a Brahmana to support this Seva Dhyan. So Seva Dhyan, to support this point, Srila Jeev Goswami in the commentary has written, quoted a story from Brahma Vaivart Puran, and this is a story of a Brahmana and a sweet rice. Now, what is the story? The story is that once upon a time there was a poor Brahmana from a city named Pratishthan in south of India. This Brahmana was a very noble person, a very gentle soul. He would live a peaceful life and a satisfied life. He was not very ambitious in terms of material ambition. One day he hears in a discourse that one can even serve the Lord in the mind. So he attended some satsang, some discourse, and here in the satsang he had understood, he heard that somebody can serve in the mind also. And then he starts to serve the Lord in the mind. He was a poor Brahmana. He did not have a lot of means and resources. So he dearly wanted to serve the Lord. And he heard that in a discourse and he started serving the Lord in the mind. What did he do? He mentally established a deity and he cleaned the temple. He collected the water from the river. He started offering arti to the Lord in his mind. All that he continued to do for many, many years. For many years, he continued like this. And what happened was, one day he was making an offering to the Lord. What kind of offering he was making? He cooked sweet rice in his mind. Sweet rice in Hindi, we called it kheer. Like we have this milk, and then we put some rice in that milk. We put some sugar, and we boil it to become little thickened, and that's what is known as sweet rice. So one day, this Brahmana, poor Brahmana, cooked some sweet rice in his mind, and while he was cooking that sweet rice in his mind, he used his thumb. He touched the preparation which was bubbling. So the rice was cooking, sweet rice was cooking. He just wanted to understand whether it is sufficiently hot or not. So he just uh, touched the sweet rice with his thumb. And then he suddenly exclaimed, "Oh, this offering is spoiled." Now, why it is spoiled? Because when you touch something with your nails, that nails are considered contaminated and it's not considered pure. So he thought that, oh no, my nails have touched this offering. Now this offering is spoiled. And immediately his meditation broke and he felt great pain because of burned thumbs. So actually he was doing everything in his mind. However, physically he could experience that his thumb was burned. In reality, he could see that his thumb was burned. And Lord was seated in Vaikuntha. He was observing. The Supreme Lord was observing all that activity. And while he watched this activity, he laughed. He laughed. And Lakshmi Devi immediately asked, "Why are you laughing, my dear Lord?" Then the Lord sent some of his associate uh, to bring this Brahmana to Vaikuntha. And then when the Brahmana came to Vaikuntha, the Lord showed his burnt thumb to everyone that actually this is what happened. And this Brahmana was offering me sweet rice in his mind. And while he was checking that sweet rice, his thumb got burned. So like that, what happened was that the Brahmana actually became the personal associate of the Lord in Vaikuntha just by offering his prayers, offering his meditation, offering his service in his mind only. So with this, uh, Nectar of Devotion, chapter number 10 ends at this point. We are now entering into chapter number 11. But before we enter into chapter number 11, with this last limb that we just now discussed, Seva Dhyan, offering service in the mind, I would also like to take this opportunity that not only with this story from Brahma Vaivarth Puran, this is also had happened in reality in ISKCON movement, devotees associated with ISKCON movement, where the devotees were put in a situation where they did not had any paraphernalia, any articles to offer to the Lord. And then these devotees actually decided to offer that service in their mind only. Now, this is actually coming from the book by the name Salted Bread. It is a true story, and this is a story about devotees in Russia, erstwhile USSR. So the regime in Russia is not favorable to activities like devotional service. They consider is something like a mental disease. The government in Russia or USSR, erstwhile USSR, the communist regime would consider something like as a mental disease. This bhakti activities that devotees would do, and the government would persecute the devotees for their beliefs in this philosophy, and they go to the extent that they would jail the devotees and they would torture the devotees, and the degree of torture is quite severe, quite serious at times. They will put these devotees into jails, but when these devotees were put into the jail, they actually did not stop their bhakti. So what did they do? They made uh, they they thought that in the morning they woke up at the early hours, and they would perform Mangal Arti without having any deities, without having any paraphernalia. So somebody would sing that Mangal Arti, and the devotees would actually offer that Mangal Arti only in their mind. And they would go to that extent that they would even make chanting beads. And how would they make chanting beads? They would make chanting beads by using the bread crumbs. So the bread crumbs would be dried, and when they will become little harder, they will make chanting beads from those bread crumbs. Like that, they will perform their bhakti mentally. Like that, they would used to do in Russia. So I found that story very inspiring. Devotees who are interested in this subject matter can purchase this book by the name Salted Bread, written by a devotee by the name Sarva Bhavana Das, whose uh, Russian name is Gagik Bunyatyan. So this devotee, I think, narrated this story to his son, and that book has been published now. Okay, we move to the next limb, which is known as Dasyam. This is known as servitorship. First of all, Rup Goswami gives the definition of Dasyam. He says, Dasyam is defined as offering karmas and considering oneself a menial servant of the Lord. So there are two aspects. Offering karmas. Karmas means activities. So we do some activity, we get some result of that activity, and when we get result of that activity, we offer it to the Lord. That is offering karmas. And the second one is considering oneself a menial servant of the Lord, a very humble and a menial servant of the Lord. So these two types of servitorship or dasyam has been given a name, has been defined by uh, karmarpanam and kankarium. So offering karmas, which is the type 1, is known as karma arpanam. Karma arpanam. Karma arpanam. Karma means karma and arpanam means offering. So offering karmas is known as karma arpanam. Then the second one, considering oneself as a menial servant of the Lord, that is known as kankarium. Kankarium. The word kankarium comes from kimkar. Kimkar. Kimkar means, kar means doing, kim means any activity. So a person who can do any activity for you is known as kimkar. Actually, kinkar means servant, a very humble and a menial servant. Considering oneself as a menial servant, that is known as kankarium. So karmarpanam and kankarium are two types. Now here, karma arpanam further has two divisions. So what is karma arpanam? Offering our karma. So this could be done in two ways. Offering fruits of one's prescribed duties in varnashrama, and offering direct service within Navda Bhakti, Shravan and Kirtan, etc. Now try to understand this with little attention. So first one is offering fruits of one's prescribed duties in varnashrama. What do you mean by varnashrama? Varnashrama means 4 varnas and 4 ashramas. So 4 varnas means Brahman, Kshatriya, Vaishya, Shudra. So the Brahmana, what is the activity of Brahmana? Brahmana's activity is to do some uh, puja, some part for the for his client, and offering puja and part to his client, he receives some dakshina. Similarly, a Vaishya, similarly a Kshatriya, and similarly a Shudra, they have been given some prescribed duties as far as Varn ashram is concerned, Varn ashram arrangement is concerned. Kshatriya will be an administrator and performing some administration services, etc. And by performing those services, he will gather taxes, and he will gather some salary, etc. So we do some activity, and by doing that activity we get some result of that activity. That could be in the form of some salary, some dakshina, and some some profit in business, some wages, etc. We will get some phala, some fruit of that activity. So the first type of karmarpanam is that we do some activity, get some fruit, and offer that fruit to the Lord, or maybe a part of that fruit to the Lord. That is known as karma arpanam of type number 1. And second karma arpanam is that we do some direct service of the Lord as part of Navda Bhakti. Navda Bhakti means Shravan, Kirtan, Pad Sevanam, Smaranam, uh, Dasyam, Sakyam, Atmanivedanam, etc. etc. There are 9 limbs of Bhakti. And if we perform any of those 9 limbs of Bhakti like Shravan and Kirtanam, that is also known as Karma Arpanam. Now, here there is a discrepancy among the learned people. Some call uh, that item number 1 is also under the purview of Uttama Bhakti. And the Vaishnavacharyas don't agree with that. Vaishnavacharya says that no, anything that is associated with some fruit, desire of some fruit, cannot qualify as part of Uttama Bhakti. Like we have also read the definition of Uttama Bhakti, Jnana Karma Anavratam. So the Uttama Bhakti should be devoid of any fruitive activity. So the Vaishnavacharyas do not consider offering fruits, which is item number 1, as bona fide item of sadhan bhakti, as bona fide item of Uttama Bhakti, which is sadhan bhakti's type of Uttama Bhakti. However, these activities like item number 1 may not be qualified as directly as Uttama Bhakti, but since they are conducive to Bhakti, they are considered part of, say, not Uttama Bhakti, but Bhakti in general. Bhakti in general means mixed Bhakti. Then we come to the item number 2, which is okay. Before we go to the item number 2, which is Kankarium, this the Vaishnavacharyas consider offering direct service within Navda Bhakti, like Shravan and Kirtan. So if we are doing Shravan and Kirtan, that is actually considered as part of Uttama Bhakti. That is pure devotion. So Dasyam means Karmarpanam, and in Karmarpanam, this offering direct service within Navda Bhakti is considered as proper limb of Dasyam. Now going to the second type, Kankarium. Here, what is the role of sadhaka? The sadhaka performs direct bhakti in the mood of Lord's personal attendant. So Rup Goswami actually recommends this and favors this. Performs direct bhakti in the mood of Lord's personal attendant. Now, what is the difference between Karmarpanam versus Kankaryam? Now, in Karmarpanam, we rejected the item number 1 as part of Uttama Bhakti, but we accepted item number 2 as part of Uttama Bhakti, which is offering direct service within Navda Bhakti. Now, someone may ask, what is the difference between offering direct service within Navda Bhakti and performing direct bhakti in the mood of Lord's personal attendant? So here, the difference lies in the attitude, not in activities. So the person who is doing Kankariam, acting in the mood of Lord's personal attendant, also does Shravan and Kirtan, like we understood in Karmarpanam, item number 2. But here, the difference is in the attitude. In Kankariam, which is the second type of servitorship, Shravan Kirtan is performed with deeper concentration compared to simply Karmarpanam. Here the person is doing karmarpanam, but with not so much deep concentration. But in Kankarium, he is doing this Shravan and Kirtan with much more deep concentration. So that is Dasyam. Here the reference for Dasyam comes from Naradiya Puran, and that typically reflects the mood of Kankariam. What it says, Iha yasya haredasya karmana manasa gira nikhilashva api avasthasu jivan mukta sa uchyate. What does it mean? One who constantly serves the Lord with actions, mind, and words, or simply desires to do so in this world, in all circumstances, is called a liberated soul. So, if a person is living in this world, doing all kind of activities, going for job, taking care of his family, etc., etc., but he is constantly serving the Lord with his actions, with his mind, and with his words, or even not with mind, action, and word, even he desires also to do that. That person is known as a liberated soul. So that is a reference given from Naradiya Puran to explain, to elaborate on what is the mood of Kankariam, serving the Lord as a personal menial attendant. We move to the next limb, which is known as Sakyam, translated as friendship. Again, here Srila Rupa Goswami defines two types of Sakyam, two types of friendship. One is Vishwas, then the second one is Mitra Vritti. Mitra means friend, Vritti means Vritti means attitude. Vritti means attitude. So Mitra Vritti means being friendly, having an attitude of a friend of the Lord. So Vishwas means trust. Now here you will see there is a difference between this one and the Mitra Vritti in terms of the I would say deeper relationship with the Lord, feeling the deeper or depth of the relationship with Lord. In Vishwas, certainly the relationship with the Lord is strong, but in Mitra Vritti, actually it has become a little more towards emotion. That relationship with the Lord is not only strong, but it has become more emotional towards the Lord. So how to understand Vishwas? It is defined as trust, which means having strong faith that Lord is our benefactor. What does this mean? This means that if I follow all rules and regulations, I will achieve transcendental life. So the Lord is going to take care of us always, whatever it may be. The Lord will always protect me. Lord will always think of my benefit. That is the Vishwas, that is the trust. Huh? But in Mitra Vritti, being friendly, this trust, this Vishwas goes to a higher level, next level, acting as Lord's well wisher. Here, the sadhaka considers in Vishwas stage, the sadhaka or the practitioner considers that Lord is my well wisher. But now here, mitravriti means being friendly. Here, the sadhaka actually starts thinking that I am also the well wisher of the Lord. I also need to do something for the Lord, something nice for the Lord, acting as Lord's well wisher. The example given is a preacher of Krishna consciousness. A preacher of Krishna consciousness means that a person thinks so much about the Lord that he now starts to act for the purpose of the Lord. So that is mitravriti. This example is not given by Rupa Goswami. This example has been given by Srila Prabhupada in Nectar of Devotion while explaining this section. So here you can see there is a increase in the level of trust. Here the person has started to relate with the Lord more as a friend, and while relating with the Lord more as a friend, not only he has a vishwas, he has a trust, but he start to serve the Lord with much more seriousness and much more eagerness. So in order to explain, give the example of Vishwas Sakyam, which is the type 1, a reference from Mahabharat has been given, and also a reference from Srimad Bhagavad has been given. The reference from Mahabharat is not available in the present versions of Mahabharat that is available today. But since this has been quoted by Srila Rupa Goswami, we accept that this reference is from Mahabharat. And in this reference, what Srila Rupa Goswami is quoting is, he's quoting Draupadi, who's praying to Lord Govinda. She's saying, "O Govinda, remembering again and again what? That your promise that your devotee will never perish, I maintain my life." So here Queen Draupadi is praying to Lord Krishna that whenever I remember, and again I remember your promise that my devotee will never perish, that Lord Krishna's devotees will never perish, I continue to maintain my life. So my life is continuing only on this thought that you have promised that my devotee will never perish. And when I remember that again and again, I feel very joyful. And I'm maintaining my life with that thought. So this is actually example of Vishwas Sakyam. Here there is a trust. Queen Draupadi is emphasizing her trust in the Lord, that you will always protect me, you will always maintain me. That trust is she is posing in the Lord. The second reference comes from Srimad Bhagavatam. Here, Havi is saying to King Nimi, what he's saying, one who never deviates, even for half a second, from that service at Lord's lotus feet, which is even sought by great devotees or great devatas. The Lord's lotus feet is sought by great devatas with firm conviction that there is nothing more desirable than this, is called a first class Vaishnava. Now, here there is a prayer, there is an explanation by Havi to King Nimi that such a devotee who never give up this thought even for half a second, uh, that I am going to serve Lord's lotus feet with firm conviction, that is, there is nothing more desirable than this, is actually a first class Vaishnava. So again, there is a element of trust shown by this devotee in the service of the lotus feet of the Lord, and the feeling is that there is nothing more desirable than this. So this is another example of Sakyam in the stage of Vishwas. Then, after explaining Vishwas, Srila Rupa Goswami explains there are two stages of Vishwas. So sometimes Vishwas might be misunderstood as Shraddha. Shraddha means faith. So we use these two words, Shraddha and Vishwas, interchangeably. Sometimes we convey the same meaning, sometimes we may convey the different meaning. So here Srila Rupa Goswami is clarifying that Vishwas is not to be understood as Shraddha. Shraddha means having some faith, having little faith. That is called Shraddha. But when this Shraddha becomes more intensified, much more advanced, much more solidified, then it is known as Vishwas. So here Vishwas is defined as a strong faith, and Shraddha actually is defined as weak faith. So Rup Goswami is explaining that a limb of bhakti that we are discussing, Sakyam, should be understood as Vishwas, where the faith is very strong. Now, we studied two types of Sakyam. One is Vishwas and another one is Mitravritti. So in Mitravritti, the description is given from Agastya Samhita. Here it is said, a person who is dedicated to serving the Lord and out of friendship sees and treats him as a human lies down in the Lord's temple. Now here you can see the person's emotion who is considering the Lord as his friend has advanced. He is relating with the Lord more like a human. And while treating the Lord more as a human, he is even ready to lie down in the temple of the Lord. Now, if you remember, we studied in the offenses, in the list of offenses, we studied 78 items in the list of offenses. There, lying in the temple of the Lord is considered as an offense, as an aparad. But here, this person has started to treat the Lord as a friend, he doesn't mind to lie down in the temple also, because he wants to serve the Lord. He's serving the Lord and he's treating him like as a human. So like we would go to our friend's house, and if our friend says that, okay, can you come and can you just, it is too late now, you can sleep in my house, the friend would not mind to sleep in the others in the friend's house. Generally we tend to avoid sleeping in somebody else's house because of some formality, because of some thinking that maybe the person might feel some uncomfort or discomfort because we are now sleeping here. Why should we give some discomfort to that person? But if that person happens to be our friend, we don't mind sleeping in that friend's house. So like that, this devotee's emotion has advanced to such an stage that he's treating the Lord now as a friend and doesn't mind to sleep in the Lord's temple. Although sleeping in the Lord's temple is considered as an offense. So here Srila Rup Goswami is saying that this is actually now moving towards from Vaidhi Sadhan Bhakti to Rupanug Sadhan Bhakti. So it is advancing to that stage. In that stage, the devotee actually is more spontaneously, more naturally attracted towards the Lord. So this may be accepted as an example of Raganuga or spontaneous devotion towards the Lord. Such attraction or feelings of friendship is cultivated in both Raganuga sadhana and Vaidhi sadhana. So Shri Rup Goswami is clarifying this, that this spontaneous attraction can happen even in the Vaidhi sadhana stage. So that is how he explains this this limbs of limb number 48, Sakyam. Moving to the next limb, which is Atma Nivedanam. Atma Nivedanam means self surrender. Like surrender means, for example, we might have seen in the movies, if somebody points a gun towards us and says that please surrender to me, hands up. So we do our hands up. That means full surrender. Full surrender means now we are at the mercy of the other person. Other person may do whatever with us. He wants us to lie down, he wants us to jump, he wants us to dance. Just because he has pointed the gun to us, we would be fully surrendered to him, or we would do whatever he is wanting us to do, like that. So that is the example of surrender. But that is an example from a material life. In spiritual life, the surrender is not because the Lord is forcing us, the Lord is pointing gun to us. No, the surrender actually comes from our own sweet will, our own ichha, our own desire. Now here, first of all, a reference is quoted from Srimad Bhagavatam to explain Atma Nivedan. What is the result of Atma Nivedan? Here it is said, one who gives up all karmas and offers oneself entirely to me, entirely, is protected by me both in this life and the next life. He achieves sarsti liberation. So here the benefit is defined as he achieves, this devotee achieves sarsti liberation. Sarsti liberation means having the same opulence equal to mine, having the same opulence equal to the Lord. Now, while defining this limb, Atma Nivedan, self surrender, there are two meanings to the word Atma. So in Sanskrit, uh, certain words have multiple meanings. Like, for example, in English, if I say mobile, so mobile can have two meanings. Mobile could mean one who is movable, who can move. Mobile can also mean mobile phone. Hmm. Like that, the word Atma in Sanskrit has several meanings. So one meaning is soul, the spirit soul. The second meaning is it could also mean body, or it could also mean the mind, man. Hmm. Body means sharir, and mind means man. So there are two possible meanings. One is soul, or the second meaning it could mean body or the mind. Now one can offer, when one offers one soul, one body, that means he has given his body to the Lord. At a bodily level, he has surrendered to the Lord. Similarly, when one gives his mind also, at the level of mind, mental level also, the person has given himself to the Lord. At the level of body, when the one surrenders, it means that one's actions are dictated by the Lord. At the level of mind, it means one thoughts also are dictated by the Lord. Lord want us to think like this, then we think like this. But at the level of soul, one gives his own identity to the Lord. So Lord says you are a dog. Okay, my dear Lord, I am a dog. Lord says you are a donkey. Okay, Lord, I am your donkey. So to that level, one gives even his identity to the Lord. Now here there are examples given for both types: offering or Atma Nivedan at the level of soul, and Atma Nivedan at the level of body or mind. So one reference is given from Stotra, written by Yamunacharya. Stotra, as you have already studied, is an uh, authorized prayer from the scriptures. So offering the soul. Here, one of our acharyas, Vaishnava acharyas, Yamunacharya prays, "O Lord, whoever I may be in my body, a human, a beast, a bird, etc., and howsoever I may be in my qualities, bodily as well as mental. But I have today surrendered that soul unto your lotus feet with immediate effect." So this is an example of Atma Nivedana at a level of soul. Then Atma Nivedan at the level of body. This example comes from a book called Hari Bhakti Vivek. O Lord, just as one does not worry about an animal that has been sold, one should offer his body, one should offer this body to the Lord and be disinterested in its maintenance. So, when you if you are in the business of selling animals, if you have sold one animal to another person, you don't have to worry about the maintenance of that person. So, like that, when a person has offered one's body to the Lord, he doesn't even care about the maintenance of the body. For example, when will I eat my food? If my food has come to me, I will eat that food. Somebody donates me some food, I will eat that food. By chance, some food comes to me, I will eat that food. But if it doesn't come, I will not eat because the Lord is not desiring it so. So, like that, this is a very high degree or high level of surrender. Atma Nivedan at the level of body and at the level of soul. So, now after describing Sakhya, limb number 48, and after describing limb number 49, Atma Nivedan, Srila Rup Goswami makes a remark. It's a very important remark. He says, Sakhya and Atma Nivedan are very rare, as they are difficult to execute during the state of sadhan bhakti. So when we are doing sadhan bhakti, these two limbs, which is Sakhya and Atma Nivedan, are very rare. However, some wise men have considered that these two quality as part of sadhan bhakti. So why it is very rare? Because they are very difficult to execute. Like I was mentioning to you, why difficult to execute? Like just by thinking that okay, my food will come. mm, if the Lord desires so, my food will come. So somebody might give me a donation of food. Somebody might offer me some eatables. Then only I will eat. Otherwise, I am not going to eat. So that is something which is known as Atma Nivedanam or Sakyam. Like Sudama. Sudama vow was that he will go to 5 houses and beg. He will recite only 3 times Bhiksham Dehi, Bhiksham Dehi, Bhiksham Dehi. And by that time, if somebody would come out and give him some food, he will take that food. Otherwise, he will move to the next house. Like that, he will daily go to 5 houses and beg for some bhiksha. And if his bhiksha has come, he will eat. Otherwise, he will not eat. He will stay hungry. But this is something a very high level of devotion. Actually, it is the stage of sadhana or the stage of the devotee in this sadhan bhakti stage is almost reaching to the raganuga stage. Raganuga means spontaneous devotion. He has advanced even to that, almost advanced to that raganuga stage. Okay, now we go to limb number 50. Nij priyo Nij priyopaharanam, Nij priyopaharanam, which means offering one's favorite article. So if you have some favorite article, for example, for someone, a favorite article could be a musical instrument, or maybe so for some, maybe favorite article would be money, like that. So offering that favorite article to the Lord, hmm, that is also a limb of bhakti. Here, reference is given from Srimad Bhagavatam. Krishna tells Uddhava, if someone offers me the best thing in their possession or anything very pleasing to them and also dear to me, that will qualify one for eternal life. So this is a limb of bhakti, that if we offer something which is very favorite to us, very nice, very, we like it very much, and we offer it to the Lord is very, very pleased, and that qualifies one for an eternal life. Limb number 51, tad arthe akhila cheshtitam. What it means? Doing everything for Krishna. Here there are two references given from Narad Pancharatra. Sorry, one reference given from Narad Pancharatra. What is said in Narad Pancharatra? O sage, among all the Vedic and routine actions that are performed, the person desiring bhakti should perform those which are favorable for service of the Lord. So there are two types of actions, one which are described by the Vedas, and the other actions are routine actions, like we go for job, we do our activities, normal routine activities, etc., etc. Uh, the person desiring bhakti should perform both the Vedic the Vedic activities, prescribed Vedic activities, and the routine activities. Should perform both these activities which are favorable to the service of the Lord. Both these activities, one who performs for the service of the Lord, that is actually tad arthe akhila cheshtitam, doing everything for Krishna. Not only what is prescribed in the Vedas, but also but also not prescribed in the Vedas, which are actually routine activities. Here, Srila Prabhupada explains this by giving an example. What are Vedic activities and what are routine actions? Not only a devotee should in prescribed duties of bhakti should do prescribed duties of bhakti, but he should also perform the duties of his practical life in Krishna consciousness. For example, a devotee who has great establishment or a factory may offer the fruits of such material possession for the service of the Lord. So if you are working somewhere, so you must be doing your prescribed Vedic bhakti activities like chanting, like hearing, shravanam, kirtanam, etc. But you are also going to the job. So while you are going on the job, you might be getting some salary, some profit. So a part of that profit, a part of that salary, if you offer to the Lord, that is something like tad arthe akhila cheshtitam, doing everything for the Lord. You are doing prescribed Vedic duties also of bhakti, but you are doing outside the realm of bhakti also some those activities which are not actually considered bhakti, but you are also doing that for the Lord. So this is another limb of bhakti, tad arthe akhila cheshtitam. Limb number 52, accepting Lord's protection. Now there are two references given, one from Hari Bhakti Vilas and one from Narsingh Puran. So Hari Bhakti Vilas reference says, he who while saying I am yours accepts the protection of the Lord feels transcendental bliss. So this is a prayer of the devotee. He's saying that, oh my dear Lord, I am yours. Main aapka hu. And while saying so, he is accepting the protection of the Lord. Then he feels transcendental bliss. So this is accepting Lord's protection. Here from Narsingh Puran, Lord Narsingh says, if anyone prays unto me and takes my shelter, saying, I surrender unto you, I shall protect them from all calamities. So that is accepting Lord's protection. So here, I surrender unto you. This is a prayer. What is the benefit of making this prayer? The Lord will protect such a devotee from all calamities. So this is Sharana Pattihi, accepting Lord's protection. Now coming to the last limb of today's class, limb number 53, and that will also end our Nectar of Devotion chapter number 11. It is Tadiyanam Sevanam. Tadiyanam Sevanam. What does it mean? Serving things related to the Lord. So there are many articles which are related to the Lord. And if we serve those articles, serve those items, we are actually serving the Lord indirectly or directly. References from Skanda Puran. This is about serving Tulsi Devi. Seeing Tulsi destroys all sins. This is a verse from Skanda Puran. This bullet number 2 and bullet number 3, both are verses from Skanda Puran, glorifying the worship of Tulsi Devi, because Tulsi Devi is a devotee of Lord Krishna. So if we are serving Tulsi Devi, we are actually serving things related to the Supreme Lord. So here, the benefit of serving Tulsi Devis are defined. Seeing Tulsi destroys all sins. Touching Tulsi purifies the body. Bowing to the Tulsi Devi destroys all sufferings. Sprinkling her with water delivers one from death. Planting her bestows attachment of the mind to Lord Krishna. Offering her to Krishna's lotus feet bestows a special liberation in the form of prem. And to such Tulsi Devi, I offer my respects. So this is a prayer of Tulsi Devi. But in the prayer, Tulsi Devi has been glorified, and benefits of worshipping Tulsi Devi have been mentioned in this verse. So this is serving Tulsi Devi, who is related to the Lord as her as his devotee. When we do seva to Tulsi Devi, these are the benefits. Second one is also from Skanda Puran. Those who worship auspicious Tulsi daily by 9 processes, namely seeing, having darshan of Tulsi Devi, touching, meditating upon Tulsi Devi, glorifying Tulsi Devi. Maybe you can do some arti of Tulsi Devi, offering obeisances to Tulsi Devi, praising Tulsi Devi, planting Tulsi Devi, serving and worshipping Tulsi Devi. What happens to such a devotee? He lives in Lord's house for 10 billion yugas. The 10 billion yugas is almost like eternity. Live in the Lord's house for 10 billion yugas. So this is the benefit of serving those things which are related to the Lord, and example has been given in relation with Tulsi Devi from Skanda Purana. Now this is a picture where a devotee is very nicely serving Tulsi Devi, is offering arti. So this is just to show you how the worship of Tulsi Devi is done. If you go to any ISKCON temple in the morning, the arti of Tulsi Devi is also performed with 3 articles. She is offered agarbatti, dhoop. She is offered lamp, deepak, and she is offered fruit, flower. So with 3 articles, the worship of Tulsi Devi is performed in our sampradaya. With that, I will conclude the class for today. All glories to the Nectar of Devotion. All glories to Bhakti Rasamrit Sindhu. All glories to Srila Rup Goswami. All glories to Srila Prabhupada. Now we can have any questions or any takeaways, any comments devotees might have. Thanks a lot.
हरे कृष्णा.
Hare Krishna Prabhuji.
सॉरी आप थक जाते हैं इतना करके, पर क्या करें, आप जब ऑफर करते हैं क्वेश्चन तो फिर पूछना ही पड़ता है. माफ करना. स्टिल मैं रोक नहीं सकता अपने आप को. ऑल ग्लोरीज टू माय गुरुजी.
बोलिए.
धन्यवाद एंड हरे कृष्णा टू ऑल. ये मेरे को थोड़ा सा इसमें प्रकाश डाल दें. रूप, गुण, लीला और सेवा में कोई डिफरेंस है कि एक दूसरे से ज्यादा सुपीरियर है या सारी एक इक्वल लेवल पर हैं?
Yeah, so as such, Rup Goswami has not differentiated in terms of degree of Rup Seva, Gun Seva, Leela Seva. Or so he has not differentiated, and in that regard, in my opinion, would be that they are at a same level. Roop Kirtan, Nam Kirtan, Gun Kirtan could be considered at a same level. Yeah.
जी जी जी. अगर टाइम कम हो तो anyone we can do.
Yeah. Yeah.
ये नहीं कि जैसे अभी उसमें तो है ना, अभी तीनों उसमें भक्ति को ज्यादा दिया गया है. ज्ञान योग, कर्म योग और भक्ति योग में भक्ति is superior than other two.
Yeah,
and more easy.
Bhakti is the topmost yoga. Karma yoga is only a facility which will take you towards Bhakti yoga or Jnana yoga. Karma yoga will purify you. And by doing that purification, you will ultimately reach to the level of Jnana yoga. And after Jnana yoga also, one needs to perform Bhakti in order to achieve that highest level of perfection, highest goal of serving the Lord in Golok Vrindavan. Yeah.
पर गीता में देखें ना, चैप्टर वाइज तो भक्ति बीच में है
जी. Yeah.
तो
But in
उनको
each,
पहले क्यों नहीं रखा गया?
Haji,
जी,
bhakti actually is sandwiched between karma and jnana.
कर्म
Actually,
ज्ञान जी,
actually, every chapter of Bhagavad Gita glorifies bhakti. Even if you see the chapters of Karma Yoga or chapters of
जी,
Jnana
जी,
Yoga. If you see chapter 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18th is actually a conclusion. But even if you see all these
हाँ जी,
chapters, in every chapter, after explaining uh, the, uh, the
ज्ञान,
the processes of Gyan, etc., ultimately Lord Krishna has
भक्ति जी,
glorified bhakti. Ultimately,
भक्ति,
we can give you an
which is
example also.
basically between 7
Hmm.
and
Yeah.
7,
So
8,
like
9, 10, 11, 12 में है ना
yeah,
basically भक्ति.
in Bhakti Yoga chapters, Lord Krishna has glorified bhakti exclusively. So no question about it. But even if you look at chapters of Karma Yoga and Jnana Yoga, which are first 6 and the last 6, ultimately in every chapter there is a glorification of bhakti, Uttam Bhakti. As an
जी गुरु
example, chapter number 14,
जी,
Lord Krishna describes what is Sattva Guna, what is Rajo Guna, what is Tamo Guna. Hmm.
जी,
But ultimately, if you see in the end of the chapter, he says that one who is my devotee
जी, जी,
crosses
जी,
over these gunas very easily.
that's
One
right.
who is my devotee. I
जी,
can, I
जी
mean,
गुरु
I
जी,
don't have Bhagavad Gita just close to me right now, but chapter 14, in the end, Lord Krishna says that. Even in chapter 15, he says like that. Chapter 16, he does like that. Chapter 17, which we have studied recently, where we have discussed this concept of Om Tat Sat.
जी, जी, जी,
Ultimately, if you read the last verses, Sadbhave Sadhu Bhave. Sadbhave Sadhu Bhave.
जी, जी
Sadbhave Sadhu
गुरु जी,
Bhave means where the Lord is saying that one who is in this Sadbhav, Sadbhav means my devotion, and Sadhu Bhav, and acting like a sadhu also achieves me.
जी गुरु जी,
So
जी गुरु जी,
ultimately, he's saying Om Tat Sat means that even if you do Yajna, Gyan, and Tapa, all these
जी,
so-called spiritual activities like Yajna, Dan, Tapa, but if you don't these spiritual activities considering me as the goal, they are a waste.
जी गुरु जी,
They are a waste.
ओ
So
ओ,
this is again
जी,
Uttama Bhakti only.
उत्तम
Prabhuji, can
बिल्कुल,
I recite this sloka number 46 of chapter
हरे कृष्ण,
14, which you are
Yes,
referring
Prabhuji.
to?
Yes, Prabhuji, please.
Mam
Please.
chayo abhyabhicharena bhakti yogena sevate sagunan samatityaitan brahma bhuyaya kalpate. In the
Yeah.
English translation, one who engages in full devotional service, unfailing in all circumstances, at once transcends the modes of material nature and thus comes to a level of Brahman. I
Yeah.
think this is the sloka you're referring to.
This is the sloka I'm referring. I think 26th. This is the 26th verse, right?
26 sloka.
So here there are two words. Mam cho avyabhicharena bhakti yogena sevate. Avyabhicharena. Avyabhichar
जी,
means without any deviation. Without any
जी,
deviation. Mam cho avyabhicharena bhakti yogena sevate. Then what happens? Sa gunan samti tyaitan. Sa gunan samti tyaitan. Now he becomes transcendent. He actually crossovers these three modes. He becomes even superior to Satoguna, Rajoguna, and Tamoguna. He crosses over these three
उत्तम
modes.
गुना,
He comes to Shuddha Sattva.
ब्रो,
Shuddha Sattva means in the Vasudev
जी,
state, where he's constantly thinking about
जी,
Vasudev, the Lord Krishna.
जी
So that
गुरु
is
जी,
14th chapter. Similarly, we have 13th chapter. In 13th chapter also some similar verses there about bhakti only. Every chapter of Bhagavad Gita ultimately concludes the Lord's heart is that come to my bhakti, do my bhakti.
वो
So
15
I'm
चैप्टर का 15 श्लोक भी है ना जी, कोई सर्वस्य चाह हृदय सन्न विश्वमते स्मृति ज्ञानम पूर्णं च
yeah.
वेदस्य सर्वहमे वेद्यो
Ahameva
वेदांत
sarvabhyo.
तद
Ahameva
विद्यते.
yeah. So that is
जी,
also. So
जी,
every chapter of Bhagavad Gita actually is leading us towards bhakti. Now I'm planning to do one
जी गुरु
special class for our Hindi group devotees where I'm going to differentiate between Karma Yoga and Bhakti Yoga. Elaborate class on identifying what is Karma Yoga and what is Bhakti Yoga. how do we know what is Karma Yoga and what is Bhakti Yoga? So there you can also attend that class. I will do that elaborate,
जी गुरुजी
specific dedicated class only on differentiating between Karma Yoga and Bhakti Yoga, because this is
थैंक यू गुरु
important for devotees to understand. Why I'm doing this class is because devotees generally identify Bhagavad Gita as a text of Karma Yoga, but actually it is a text of Bhakti Yoga, where in every
ये तो
chapter
तीनों को ही है ना गुरुजी
नहीं तीनों
तो
उसके
तीनों
अंदर
का ही है ना
डिस्क्राइब्ड हैं,
कर्म भक्ति और ज्ञान जी
तीनों उसमें डिस्क्राइब्ड हैं, पर अल्टीमेटली
जी
देखिए कर्म योग करेंगे तो आप भगवान को प्राप्त नहीं कर सकते हैं, आप ज्यादा से ज्यादा मुक्ति प्राप्त कर सकते हैं, जिसमें आप
बहुत
ब्रह्म ब्रह्म
मुश्किल है
मुक्ति
बहुत
जिसे आप बोलते हैं ना, ब्रह्म रियलाइजेशन में
जी
आप पहुंच सकते हैं, कर्म योग से ज्यादा वहां पहुंच सकते हैं।
जी
और ज्ञान
जी
योग जो
गुरुजी
है वो हर कोई कर नहीं सकता है। ज्ञान योग के
जी
लिए
गुरु
आपको
मुश्किल
अपना जो चेतना है उसको शुद्ध करना बहुत आवश्यक है, बिना उसके आप ज्ञान योग कर नहीं सकते हैं। और भक्ति योग ही एकमात्र ऐसा योग बचता है जिसमें आप कर सकते हैं, जिसके लिए आप क्वालिफाइड हैं और जिसके थ्रू आप टॉप मोस्ट डेस्टिनेशन अचीव कर सकते हैं। So we will elaborate on this topic, Bhakti Yoga versus Karma Yoga, in our Bhagavad Gita Hindi classes, and you can very well join that session. So but today also, like we discussed in
जी
Dasyam,
गुरुजी
Karmarpanam and
जी
Kankarium. So Karmarpanam, there are
जी
two types. One is
जी
doing
गुरु
some activity and offering it to the Lord. So that is where
जी
Vaishnava acharyas are saying that this is actually not Uttama Bhakti. While
जी
but
गुरुजी
second Karmarpanam is you are doing Shravan and Kirtan. That has been accepted as
जी
Uttama Bhakti. And the third one is Kankarium, where you are serving the Lord as a menial servant. So here you can see doing some activity, getting its fruit and offering it to the Lord. That is Karma Yoga. That is not Bhakti Yoga. But
जी
if you are
गुरुजी
doing the activities of Shravan and Kirtan, that is Bhakti Yoga. Even if you are doing not much deep concentration and dedication and devotion, even if without much dedication and devotion you are doing, still it is Uttama Bhakti, qualifies for Uttama Bhakti. And Kankariam is certainly
तो
Uttama
बेसिकली
Bhakti.
हियरिंग एंड चैंटिंग जी
Yeah,
जी
that is Uttama Bhakti, pure Uttama Bhakti. Yeah.
जी
Yeah.
I have to make a confession गुरुजी
Yes, Prabhuji.
ये जो मेंटल वाला आपने आज बताया ना
हाँ जी.
ध्यान
Mm-hmm.
आई एम वेरी गुड इन इट फ्रॉम चाइल्डहुड
So congratulations, you have one limb that you are very good at it, and kindly
हाँ नहीं
continue to
मेरे
do
को
that.
मालूम नहीं था आज आपने बताया कि ये भी ध्यान
Kindly
है
continue to do that.
पर ये अभी जैसे मेरे माता श्री का शरीर शांत हो गया है लेकिन मन नहीं मानता है अभी भी उनसे बात करता रहता हूँ जब चाहे
जी,
उनको
जी.
बोलता हूँ आ जाओ मेरे साथ सो जाओ जब चाहे मैं कहता हूँ खाना खा लो समथिंग लाइक दैट यू नो एनीथिंग आई
Yeah.
वांट मन ने नहीं माना है इसी
Yeah,
तरह एक गुरु है मैं नहीं बताऊंगा कौन से जब चाहे
जी.
मैं उनसे बात कर लेता हूँ जब चाहे
जी.
मैं उनको बुला लेता हूँ जब चाहे जो कहता हूँ कर भी देते हैं वो
जी जी जी.
और ये
Very good, Prabhuji.
अभी
Very good.
कुछ सालों से 4-5 सालों से ज्यादा हो गया है पहले थोड़ा कम था
जी.
पर ये पता नहीं आप जैसे गुरुओं की कृपा है
जी.
तो बचपन से कोई ना कोई गुरु मिलता रहा मेरे को
जी.
तो इसलिए
चलिए प्रभु, और किसी भक्त का
थैंक
भी
यू
हम
गुरुजी
कमेंट ले लेते हैं, पूछ लेते हैं.
जी जी
If somebody
जी
else has any comment or any
सॉरी
remark.
मैं बहुत टाइम
Yeah.
ले लेता हूँ सॉरी
नहीं कोई बात नहीं. दंडवत जी. हाँ जी.
Yeah.
If there is no comment, then we can close, but like to give opportunity to others also to ask. Yeah. Also like to welcome Madan Lal Sajdev ji, and there is one more person has joined us through iPhone. I don't know the name, but welcome to the other devotees also. Thank you very much for joining us. Meanwhile, if others has any question, maybe we can do it now, or otherwise we call the session for today. Yeah. Looks like there is no other question. So is it okay if I close the session for today?
प्रभु जी डेली सोइंग ऑफ तुलसी सीड से क्या तात्पर्य है?
Daily sowing of tulsi seed का explanation actually Srila Jeev Goswami ने अपनी commentary में दिया है, it doesn't actually mean that you have to plant tulsi seed every day. Let me try to read that to give you an explanation. I read that today, but did not remember exactly. In verse number, I think 203. The meaning is that every day one should handle the tulsi in such a way that there will be leaves and buds available every day, not that one should plant them every day. So if you see this book, Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu, page number 205, in the top paragraph, he's clarifying that it does not mean that you go and plant tulsi every day, but if you are handling Tulsi Devi in such a way that new leaves are coming and new buds are coming, that is actually equivalent to planting Tulsi every day. That clarification has been given by Jeev Goswami in his commentary. Yeah.
Okay, Prabhuji.
Thank you very much. Now you are asking questions which actually the acharyas have addressed in the book. So your meditation on these literature is going deeper. I really appreciate that. Yeah.
Thank you, Prabhuji.
Okay.
All credit to Tuti.
Thank you very much, Prabhuji. Yeah. Okay.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji.
Okay, Mataji. Vidya Mataji, you are comfortable with the subject matter? Was it difficult today?
No, I think I have a grasp of it, where
Grasp of
it
it. Okay.
is going.
Okay, good.
Thank
you very much. Thank you.
And
Ji.
I did get the quiz of Nectar of Devotion.
Okay, okay.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Also
Thank you.
like to mention to the devotees, we have organized a seminar on Wednesday in Hindi. That is on personal finance actually. But that will be delivered by two professionals in personal finance who also happen to be devotees in ISKCON. So you will hear both the subject matter of personal finance, but in a devotional way. Devotional way means in a way how a devotee should see and look at his financial issues in daily life. So that seminar is on Wednesday, that is day after tomorrow, and would request devotees to join and clarify any doubts they may have directly from specialists and subject matter experts in this field, both in the field of devotion as well as in the field of personal finance. So with that, I would like to close the session today. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Hare
Did
Krishna,
you have
Prabhuji.
question
Hare
answered?
Krishna, Prabhuji.
Hare
Yes,
Krishna,
Prabhuji.
Prabhuji.
Okay, Prabhuji. Yes, Hare Krishna.